to director, we have a review. Can you rock and roll it for me, please?
Welcome to another episode of Rock and Roll It. What an aptly named podcast for this time of year, right? Because if you say it really fast with a Roshogola in your mouth, it might almost sound like Roko Roll It. And that is the flavor of this month. For the second time in three episodes, I think we're going to be heavily discussing Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli because we're going to be recapping India's three ODIs in Australia, which they, of course, lost 2-1. And before starting, I have to give us all a pat on the back because we've actually done humanity a service. We have brought the Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli fan armies together. After our last episode where we discussed Rohit Sharma's captaincy, the Rohit fans were convinced we were not giving Rohit enough credit. Kohli fans were convinced that we were giving him too much credit. And so then they both joined in their mutual hatred of us and their conviction that everything we're saying is rubbish. So we've done humanity a service. I think, in fact, I might even say that we deserve a Nobel Peace Prize. You know, a lot of people are campaigning for those these days, so I thought we'll just throw our hat in the ring as well. And now we're going to talk again about Rohit and Kohli because India lost the series 2-1 in Australia. But I mean, who cares about that, right? Because in the end, it ended with a vintage Rohit and Kohli partnership, 168 runs, Rohit getting 121, Kohli getting 74. We'll discuss the technical stuff and the tactical stuff. But first, Sid, just tell me how good did it feel to watch that partnership between Rohit and Kohli?
Yeah, it was Rohit completely turning back the clock because we have discussed it how in the last 4 5 years he's been growing, he's been hyper attacking, he's not been caring about his wicket, and I think in the last 5 years he had scored only 3 centuries given the style of play he had adopted, and that was the style of play he felt the team needed. Uh, he was. This was only the second time in the last 5 years that he has batted 100 balls in an innings. So that kind of tells you what kind of intent he was playing with. But still, he had such good numbers that only Travis Head, among all the openers in the world in this period, both averaged more than him and had a higher strike rate than him. So he was playing a very high risk game with such high efficiency. The only trade-off was that he was not scoring those big hundreds that became synonymous with Rohit Sharma from the period of, let's say, 2013 to 2019, where he had just complete autopilot template for ODIs almost, where he would yeah, I mean, you could close your eyes when Rohit Sharma and Dhawan were batting together. You could have that game simulation with the opposition, and you could agree on a score of 55 for one after 10 overs. It used to be almost every time that used to happen, and from that base, he would accumulate for the next 20 overs, and then go. That then he used to explode just like Flojo did right now in the last 20 overs and score big hundreds. Which is why he might not be high on the run scorers list, but he's number three on the century makers list in ODIs. So he had given up that template, but now quite organically, I would say it was not like he has again consciously changed his mind. I think it was just that the conditions demanded him to be more watchful at the start. It gave him that time to play himself into the vintage Rohit Sharma innings. And in the third ODI, India were also chasing a modest target, so he had the time to just reprise one of the classics, and it was really a classic. It might not have those pulled sixes, but there was this lovely inside out six of Adam Zampa, which was also vintage Rohit Sharma. And of course, it's always good to it always touches something in your emotions when somebody whom you have watched for 10, 12 years dominate cricket, and then now they are not assured of their place, keeping the 2027 World Cup in mind, but them doing well, them showing, hey, this is what we are. It's always nice to watch that kind of uh, reprisal.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, watching that was especially sweet after the first and also second ODI where, Rohit, especially Rohit, because Kohli got out early couple of times, but Rohit had to face a lot of Josh Hazelwood on, pitches where there was something in it for him. There was that extra bounce, and he was returning after such a long time, right? Both of them were returning after such a long time. So it was like, I mean, it reminded me of that 2020 IPL where after many months of no cricket because of the pandemic, suddenly, like the initial part of that IPL, everybody was struggling. Like 90% of the batters, it was just very surreal to watch them kind of uh, get back to the rhythm of playing cricket again. And it was kind of like that to watch, especially Rohit, when Hazelwood was like getting it to like climb and like move this way, that way, hit him on the hip. And, it was just a struggle. And like, there were times when he looked late on the ball and stuff. But you knew that a lot of that had to do with rustiness and Kohli as well. That first, you know, he got uh, especially a really good ball in the second one, which he got LBW to from Bartlett. And then, that slice drive where he didn't quite like get his weight forward. All these things happen if you're coming back after a long time and like uh, playing in conditions which require a certain amount of adjustment too. So after having seen all that, watching that partnership was just really sweet. And it was nice to see Kohli with that little moment of humor where he, pumped his fist after getting that first run. And then that straight drive of Stark was, like vintage, just like really moving into the shot so beautifully. And there was that moment where he went past Sangakkara with that single, right? These are the kind of Kohli moments that have made him the player he is, because it's that I think Connolly was bowling and it was that Akshar Patel kind of ball which would cramp most batters for room, but he just opened his hip a little, vacated some space, and without
Mm.
even like closing his bat face, just did that and it slid off that way. And he gets a single and goes past Sangakkara, and that was a another lovely moment too. Plus, like all the shots Rohit played, like Monga mentioned that inside out six, it was particularly like nice to watch. I think because there was that little bit of some of those Lakshman fours in during his 281 where the fielder is chasing almost until the end, and then he's not going to get to it. There was a guy at long off moving, and then he was kind of chasing it in vain. So yeah, all of those moments added up to give us a really lovely finish to the series. So yeah, from all those points of view, it was just great to watch.
Yeah, the
I think
first.
the rust was sorry. I think the rust was quite evident from just watching Rohit Sharma play that Hazelwood spell. And then Shreyas Iyer came in, same condition, same difficulty, and he just looked much more assured, much more decisive in his footwork, in his movements. That kind of juxtaposed next to each other, it showed that hey, 7 months of no cricket has an impact. But the good thing is now that the next ODI assignment is in 1 month, the one after that is in another 1 month, during which he can play Vijay Hazare. I think this is from the point of view of Rohit and Kohli, it is actually playing out perfectly because this is the best format. Now they will get enough breaks, which at this age they can use to stay fit, but not so long that they become rusty. So it is personally for them, I think this could work out.
Yeah, there were some classic Kohli sequences in this innings. For example, KK talked about that straight drive of mid Stark, and then the very next ball, he gets a back of length ball and he just dabs it down with soft hands into the offside and takes a single. And that's the kind of strike rotation that sometimes you don't necessarily see in the modern batters. And you see why Kohli and Rohit are such great ODI players, because while in T20 cricket, sometimes strike rotation is overrated, in ODIs, you still need that. In fact, I think there was one over where I think Short came on to bowl fast off spin and he was bowling quite well. And then they just took six singles in the over, just managed to work every ball somewhere for a single, flick it on the leg side, play it to mid on or mid off. and get a single. And that was what was so nice to watch about this partnership, that you saw classic ODI batting where there were boundaries, but also a lot of strike rotation. I want to talk a little bit about Rohit's strategy in this particular series, because as Monga said, it seemed like it happened kind of organically. I guess the question, and I'll read out some of the numbers. I guess the question is now, how does Rohit bat going forward, especially knowing that the 2027 World Cup, which has to be his goal, let's be honest, is in South Africa. Because just to read out some of the numbers, for example, in the Champions Trophy, Rohit played only 36 balls per innings on average, but he had a strike rate of 100, and his first 20 ball strike rate was 100. Here in these three ODIs, he played 78 balls per innings on average. Of course, 125 of those came in the third ODI. Average 101, strike rate 85.5, and his first 20 ball strike rate only 48. Because in the second ODI, he was, I think, 14 of 40 at one point. And again, in the third ODI, he was 8 of 19. So clearly taking his time early on to get his eye in. Do you think this is the template for Rohit going forward now, or is it going to be completely conditions dependent?
Yeah, I think it will be conditions most of the times. And just that chase of 237, Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli, I think they can keep doing it forever. If there are sub 300 chases, at even at the age of 50, you bring them out, they will be able to do it. Because they as Kohli himself said, that we know the game so well. We always knew the game so well. So from the point of view of the selectors and team management, they've learnt little about them in terms of making that 2027 decision. Where, I mean, the challenge for India's limited overs batters has always been batting first on a flat pitch, where they tended to end up 20 short. So what happens then, we'll find out in the next two ODI series, which are in India, and which could be closer to the standard conditions you see in ICC events, which tend to be flat. So we will see how they go about it, because it was not like, yeah, these numbers are saying something, but it was not like in Perth that he set out to do that. In Perth, I think it was only in the second or third over that he tried to hoik and tried to play like he did, but then he realized the ball is moving too much. So he kind of tempered himself. Even in Adelaide, after playing those two maidens, yes, he did play out two maidens, but almost every over he was trying one aerial hit, trying to unsettle the bowler.
So
Yeah, I don't.
you say the selectors have learned little, but KK, they would have learned something about Rohit's fitness, right? Because that was a question coming into the series, and then there were a lot of stories about how he had been working hard on his fitness between the IPL and this series, and it seemed to show because he did look leaner, fitter. He's played, as Sid said, his second 100 plus ball inning since 2000 and late 2020. So they would have learned a little bit about Rohit, that he is still fit enough to score these big hundreds.
Yeah, I mean, he that earlier the other 100 that he scored was also a few months ago, just before the Champions Trophy against England. So it's not like he didn't.
That was the World Cup game in Lucknow where the
So,
pitch was. That's when
huh,
he faced 100 balls.
faced 100 balls. Okay, okay, not scored 100. Got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh, but yeah, so that stat also, like Monga said, has a lot to do with the approach he adopted, and the fact that if you're playing that way, you're rarely gonna get to face 100 balls anyway. So, on the question of his fitness, I don't know. Yeah, he looked leaner and everything, which is, I'm always very hesitant to like equate how you look to how fit you are. And even though, he may have looked a certain way like a few months ago, he was still like one of the top ODI openers in the world. So I am nobody to comment on how fit he was then or not. Uh, that he played these two long innings back to back now is always a good sign. That's always pleasing to see. And yeah, on that note, yeah, and yes, he does need to find ways to like keep himself fit and match fit also between tournaments, which uh, in the next few months, like Monga said, with ODI series coming up, pretty much like without long gaps, he should be able to get that match fitness also going and that match rhythm also going. Yeah, so from that point of view, yeah, it was very encouraging signs. And On the approach thing, I think, yeah, this was completely like, uh, dependent on the target in the third ODI, and, just the fact of facing Hazelwood on pitches like this, which is not going to be a very common occurrence. Not necessarily Hazelwood, but a bowler of that quality doing those kinds of things is not going to be a very frequent occurrence. So I would be I wouldn't be surprised at all if, in the South Africa series we see the new old Rohit again, where, he's stepping out and looking to hit over the top right from the first over, taking his chances. So I don't think this was any signal of him looking to go back to his old style, especially because, with, say, Yashasvi Jaiswal waiting in the wings, with the team composition being what it is, Rohit probably needs to bat in that, in that aggressive way, uh, to, remain like numero uno kind of uh, contender for that spot going into 2027.
Yeah, we've talked about Rohit and Kohli, but we also have to remember, of course, India did end up losing the series 2-1. They lost the first two ODIs. Bit of a hard series on which to judge the team because the first ODI was truncated, just 26 overs, in conditions that you don't usually see with the ball moving around and rain around. But still, the dominance India's had, Sid, and we received some pushback during one of our previous episodes for saying that at least some of that was conditions based. The fact that the last Champions Trophy was in very friendly conditions, the 2024 T20 World Cup was in conditions that favored India's spinners. Here they faced completely different conditions. I don't know if the 2027 World Cup conditions will be as seam friendly as this, but they might be closer to this than, say, the Caribbean or UAE. Did we find out that there are some holes in India's ODI game, India's ODI strategy in these conditions that they need to work on before the 2027 World Cup?
As we have forever discussed, the one whole is that when all your spinners cease being such wonderful all-rounders in conditions that are not so conducive to them, then the batting becomes a little thin, which is why they are forced to not play Kuldeep Yadav because they want to have some depth in the batting. That will remain a consistent and persistent thing that they'll have to keep working with. But I must say that despite this result, this result, we need to keep in mind that India lost all the tosses, and it could have been a big difference because the ball did move more in Perth and Adelaide when the side was batting first. Now, but they've seen very good positive signs in this series where two guys that they have been persistent with, Harshit Rana and Washington Sundar, they have they are kind of showing why what the team sees in them, and we have known that. See, Harshit Rana is one of the rare bowlers who's tall, almost 6.5 foot tall, and can bowl 140 plus. Now that height gives you all kinds of advantages. Seam movement, Seam movement is a function of vertical speed. The quicker the ball is descending on the ground, both seam movement and turn. Now turn happens when there's a lot of dip. The ball descends quicker onto the ground and grips more. You fast bowlers cannot get that kind of dip. So the big thing for fast bowlers is the height plus the release. So that height is a factor which cannot be replicated, which you cannot train somebody. That height plus pace of 140 plus will get you, if there is any seam movement, he will get it. If there is any uneven bounce, he will get it. And he's got a good slower ball. He has shown he can be useful in the middle overs. Plus, he has also shown that he can bat at 8 or 9, which which kind of might have, see, there was an injury to Nitish Reddy, which kind of helped Kuldeep Yadav come in, but it also must have given them confidence that hey, there is Harshit Rana at 8 or 9, and we can play Kuldeep Yadav. So he, if we can keep doing this, he'll need to work a lot. He'll need to work hard because his pace kind of drops in his second or third spell, uh, which he'll have to work on. But if he keeps working hard, he's the kind of bowler that India have always wanted, who can also give you, unlike Prasidh Krishna, who can also score you 30 runs at a pinch. Uh, so that could help uh, Kuldeep Yadav come in. And even if Kuldeep Yadav is not there, we saw Washington Sundar did a very good job with the ball. He's developing very nicely as an off spinner, where he's doing more and more in the air. He's bowling good areas. He bowled 10 consecutive overs in this match, which kind of created the pressure for wickets at the other end. Now, Washington as an all-rounder, though, we have a problem where what you want is a six-hitter. He's not a six-hitter. He's a proper solid batter who can do what Akshar is doing. So that there, India have a little bit of a problem where if you play him as an all-rounder, he's kind of wasted so low in the order because he comes at 7 or 8, which is where you need six-hitters, not consolidators. Now, but the good signs are that these two guys that India, both the selectors and team management invested heavily in, they are showing we have like these investments were not completely bum.
Yeah.
That we have what you need, and we will keep developing.
Yeah, actually, I thought in the second ODI in particular, India actually were very much in the game in the second innings when Washington and Akshar were bowling together. Because Akshar was also getting something to happen with the ball. Both of them were getting
And
it to stop and grip a bit. I mean, they had shot dropped twice, right? Matthew shot. It could have been very different had one of those chances been taken. The second one was an absolute sitter, if I remember. And it did look, you're
Aksar's
right.
batting, Aksar's batting at number 5 is batting like a proper middle order batter, not in difficult conditions. It's not like he's been given a promotion to pinch hit or be the left-hander token left-hand guy. He's batting properly.
Yeah, but I actually think that again, that second ODI and the third ODI, it actually showed me at least that even in these conditions, India can play three spinners. Of course, that then you need to figure out the combination of the fast bowlers, whether that's batting Harshit at 8. And I think Shubman Gill has now finally come out and said that that could be an option. Because earlier we were told that there's no chance that Harshit is going to bat at 8, even though this was a suggestion we made before the 2020, before this Asia Cup. We were told that no,
Hmm.
they're not looking at Harshit at a number as a number 8. He's now hit. At least he's had one decent knock where he's shown what he can do with the bat. Our colleague Nagraj Golapuri has, for the last 2 years, been saying he is an all-rounder, guys. We finally saw some glimpses of that. And if you have the option of playing Harshit at 8, or you could, once Hardik Pandya comes back, which hopefully he will return and be fit, then there is the option of playing Hardik as a third seamer. I guess here they were restricted because they didn't feel that Nitish Kumar Reddy could be a third seamer in Australian
Yeah.
conditions. But that could be the other option, right, KK, that you just play Hardik as a third seamer. And then that kind of solves you still have to, I mean, then you can actually have batting till 8, but also have Kuldeep in the team.
Yeah, I mean, that's the ideal scenario, which is why leading into every World Cup in every format for the last how many ever years, like the one thing that's been the topmost prayer for India's fans has been please, like Hardik Pandya, stay fit, right? And that continues in one way or another, whether or not, I mean, even if the personnel around him keeps changing, even if the combination around him keeps changing, conditions keep changing, Hardik Pandya remains that super important player. Yeah, and uh, again, like you look around other teams, look at Australia, for example. Like India have been worried about, oh, we need batting till 8, we need 6 bowlers, right? Many other teams in England in a lot of games, Australia in ODIs, they, pretty much play like 7 batters, including their keeper, 4 bowlers, like, teams always used to do before, and rely on part-timers to get them through like, 10 overs, which uh, in India's case, in India's case, they're aiming for something like more, right? To have 6 proper bowlers and 7.5, 8 proper batters. So it's not
But
that.
again, we have the classic problem where the fast bowlers, apart from Harshit Rana, cannot bat. I mean, Australia have Stark, they
Yeah,
have Bartlett or Ellis who can score
Cummins
runs.
when he comes in. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
this is where I actually think that maybe India needs to impose a drastic rule. Maybe there should be a rule that no fast bowler will get a chance from now on in the team unless they can average 20 and strike at 140. They should just have this blanket rule to encourage all fast bowlers in this country to develop some batting, because even from the lot, I mean, I know we've discussed this before, but even from the new lot of guys coming through the IPL, whether it's Avesh Khan or Mayank Yadav or Mohsin Khan, none of these guys can really hold a bat, which is so restrictive, right, when you're building the 11.
And there should be a rule for batters to bowl a certain number of overs in the nets, and not just complete their batting and
Yeah.
pack up and leave.
That I think at least we're getting with the new crop with Abhishek Sharma and Tilak Verma, Riyan Parag. At least that is somewhat happening with a new lot who might come in at
But
some stage.
they are not Tendulkar, Sehwag, Ganguly level or Maxwell level bowlers.
I mean, Abhishek Sharma, I think, is developing as a bowler. I think he could be a Yuvraj level bowler.
Yeah, I think Parag also, like, especially the ways he's trying to like develop the low arm release, the ways of staying in the game, even in
Hmm.
T20 cricket and stuff. So there is something there for sure. I'm not,
Hmm.
and also like Sachin, Sehwag, they were helped by like, having uh, the ODI field restrictions of their time where, you
And
had
the older ball, softer older ball.
that as well. Yeah. So you didn't have like only four guys outside the circle in the middle overs. So that changes the game completely for part-timers.
So now Rohit Sharma's next challenge is to start bowling off spin. Otherwise, Abhishek Sharma will take his place with left arm spin and leapfrog poor Yashasvi Jaiswal again, whose leg spin is still work in progress.
Well, he bowled in that test match and Nitish Kumar Reddy didn't.
Yeah. It
Hey,
did feel
Nitish,
as the,
which Nitish Kumar Reddy again, a bit of concern. I mean, he looks one of the fitter guys, but whenever there's some bowling workload, he develops strains. Again, there was a strain which kept him out. I hope he could like transform that fitness into bowling fitness also.
yeah, it did look, especially in the second ODI, that India were missing another attacking option through the middle. I really felt if Kuldeep, for example, was playing in that game, it could have been very different because it was the spinners who were actually getting more out of that surface, it seemed, than the fast bowlers. So
But
yeah.
to be fair to the team management, in that same ODI, just to show the other side of the thought process, in that ODI, India could keep attacking through the innings because they had that extra batter. If you see, Rohit Sharma and Shreyas Iyer was a very attacking partnership. And Iyer also kept attacking, Aksar also kept attacking. So they could do that because they had the extra batter.
Yeah. I'm just talking about, I guess I'm just banking on Hardik coming back, which allows them to play
Yeah.
Hardik third seamer and then three spinners. But that's on the combination. India will have to figure that out because, of course, they'll play in home conditions where we'll have to see what kind of pitches are rolled out, what combinations they go with there. On India's batting in this series, are there any concerns over their batting against high quality pace? I know it was an exceptional spell, and I want to talk about that spell by Hazelwood in the second ODI. But anything that you saw, Shreyas Iyer did get out to one short ball, but then he had a decent innings in the second ODI. Gill had three failures. Was it just one of those short ODI series where you can't tell much as such?
I
Yeah,
eh,
Gill was one down the leg side, one very good shot, but he hit it straight to mid off. So and Gill actually has looked the best among the top three, even though he's not scored the runs. And Iyer looked really impressive in that second ODI, right from ball one when you have had two wickets fall in one over. Everybody is looking at sea, and he comes in and he looks really calm and in control, front foot moving right in, not letting the ball move. So I don't think Iyer has got any problem. I don't think the batting has any problem as such. The only test, again, as we have always said, comes on when India are batting first in flat conditions where you want to score above par because you want to have insurance against dew, insurance against chase. So those are the times when that's the only challenge for India. India has got batting does not really have any problems right now.
yeah, other than, the that number eight thing and
And
maybe
also a little bit of KL Rahul and Akshar Patel confusion where I think Dustin only was saying in another call that, yeah, Akshar might look good at number 5 and might end up breaking the right left, but is he capable of scoring hundreds? Because you want your at least the top five to be able to score hundreds whenever you get in, which he has not done.
Yeah, I think it
Yeah,
was actually
but
a colleague, Yash, who was raising that question of are they not giving KL Rahul enough of an opportunity by batting him at number 6 instead of number 5? I know they want the left-right partnerships, they want to maintain that. But is there a case for just saying KK that KL should be on number 5 fixed and you bat Aksar after him? Unless, there's a very particular circumstance, whether the matchup or something, should Rahul be batting at number 5 instead of number 6?
yeah, it's a interesting thing because before, like say a year ago or something, we would have been like, okay, Akshar is a guy who you send as a spin disruptor, like specifically, for that right left
Yeah,
thing, and specifically when you have a left arm spinner or a leg spinner and you just want to like go after him, and for a short, impactful innings, maybe you would sometimes, not in every match, sometimes send Akshar in ahead of KL. But what Akshar has shown, not just in this series, not just in the Asia Cup, pretty much since I think the Australia Test series at home in 2023, is that he's a guy who came into the team more for his bowling, and he remains a really good bowler. But I think right through his career, he's been more of like I think he started for Gujarat as a top order batter, and that sort of survives in him as, you watch him bat even against pace, because you hadn't seen so much evidence of this. There was maybe some doubts against his game against pace. But then you see him against pace as well, the way he times the ball and everything. And he looks super comfortable. He looks like he's got shots both sides of the wicket. He's got the game. He knows how to pace himself as well. And but having said all that, is he as good as KL Rahul as a batter, as a middle order batter with all the gears that KL brings? I'm not so sure. So there are advantages to having him bat at 5, Aksar. There are potentially disadvantages that we are not seeing yet, and we could see maybe at some point. And we
hmm.
also, KL has that six hitting game to bat at 6, which is one point in his favor. But again, he might have to uh, you might be putting him in situations where he comes in and he has to start going after the bowling from ball 1.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's
He just
something
needs that. He
that's
needs
something
that
he
fifth.
needs to kind of train himself for in the nets and stuff.
Hmm.
So, these are things like could impact his game in other ways. So
Hmm.
these are things India will need to think about. This could yet be the best way to go about it, or it could not, but it's for them to figure out
Hmm.
over the next few series.
Yeah, the only opportunity cost of putting Aksar up is that the kind of KL needs a 15 or 20 kind of start to be at his most efficient. That you're giving up sometimes. So
Yeah.
that's the only thing that you have to consider.
Yeah. And one more point is like we spoke about Washington's bowling and how good it has become. Akshar as well, you
Yeah,
know,
he is superb.
and so during that, I think England series, I'd written a piece where both Jadeja and Akshar had great matches. Jadeja with the ball more and Akshar with the bat more. And at the time, we didn't know that India could play both of them in every match in the Champions Trophy. Turned out that the conditions allowed them to do that. And in that thing, in that game, it had seemed like Jadeja was like bowling with that overspin, get testing both edges of the bat and doing things that Akshar at that point didn't seem to be able to do. But now you watch him and he's getting more drift, he's getting more dip. Feels like he's leveled up his bowling also quite a bit. And
Yeah.
that's another really encouraging sign for India. And again, that puts more pressure on Jadeja as well, who has said that, look, I want to keep playing ODIs and, good on him. But yeah, it puts pressure on him as well, given that there's Aksar who's doing so well with bat and ball, and there's Washington Sundar who is an off spinner and gives them something else.
Yeah, I think in
Yeah.
that second ODI, he was at times bowling in the low 80s, really slowing it up and getting the batters to kind of come forward and the ball dipping on them. And it does show a little bit of we've called this selection panel at times ruthless, haven't we, Sid? And it does show a little bit of ruthlessness as well that they've left Jadeja out and gone with Washington, even though Jadeja was part of the side that won the Champions Trophy. And like you said, that's kind of they've been been proven right in a sense because of how well Washington has been bowling. That's another example, isn't it, of a bit of ruthlessness from the selectors of just saying, we know Jadeja is really good, but Washington is the future, and we would rather, of course, have an off spinner and a left arm spinner rather than two left arm spinners. And since we now have this option, we're going with him.
And they've also been nice about it. They've had the chat with Jadeja. Jadeja has acknowledged it in the press conference that they've had this conversation with me, but I respectfully choose to disagree, and I can kind of keep myself in contention. But they've had that conversation where they have told him that they are looking at these two spinners as their spinners for the 2027 World Cup, which also brings me to the next point that which has been the burning question. Mohammad Shami. Mohammad Shami is saying they've not had any conversation with me, which I find a little strange because I'm sure they must have had, if they've spoken to Jadeja, they must have spoken to Shami also. And Shami, just to bring people up to speed, Shami was exceptional in the last ODI series that he played. But since then, he lost fitness where he did not go to the England Test series. Uh, since then, he's hardly played a lot of cricket. So, which is why they went back to Siraj, who has been doing the same job, uh, maybe not as spectacularly as Shami, but he's been doing a great job with the new ball and the old ball in
I
ODI.
mean, that
So,
Asia Cup final was pretty spectacular.
oh, that was long ago. But see, the argument against Siraj was that, hey, where are the four firsts? Why is he not winning a single-handedly? Why is he not, if he's bowling well, why is he not winning us matches with his spells, which Shami tends to do? Shami has tended to have a much bigger impact on games when he's bowling well. So that was the reason why they left out. There was no, I mean, Siraj has done nothing wrong when he was left out and Shami was taken in for Asia Cup. This Asia Cup. Was it Asia Cup?
Champions
No,
Trophy.
Champions
Champions
Trophy.
Trophy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so then they have now moved from Shami to Siraj because they saw that dip in fitness in Shami. And they have not had evidence of that return to peak fitness for Shami yet, which is disputed by Shami, which he's trying to disprove by playing Ranji Trophy, which is great. It's great news that there is competition for spots in the squad.
And you couldn't also ignore what Siraj had been doing in red ball cricket, even though it's a different format. He's been arguably India's best test bowler over the last 6 months. Certainly the most consistent, considering he's played every test India have played.
Yeah.
And I think that also had to factor into the selectors' thinking. I think in terms of whether they spoke to Shami or not, I think they definitely spoke to him before the England series, right? That was a mutual decision to not take him there. So they might have just thought that that conversation still stands today, so they don't need to have another one. I'm not saying this because we know Ajit Agarkar or anything. In fact, he once called me Dennis instead of Dustin once at a party.
So
So
he doesn't know you.
yeah, he doesn't know me, but I mean, I think to be fair, he's been a very transparent chief of selectors. He's had press conferences for more or less every major squad announcement. He's addressed all of the questions people have had. He's addressed questions about Rohit and Kohli, why captaincy has changed. So he's been fairly transparent in that sense. KK, is the fast bowling lineup now shaping up for India? Of course, Bumrah will come back. We hope Hardik will come back. But is this set of Siraj, Arshdeep, Prasidh, and Harshit, you think, the four that India will persist with now for the next couple of years? And were you happy with what they showed in this particular season?
Yeah. First question. Yeah, I think it's been clear over the last few months that they keep going back to these same guys, which is a very good sign. It's a sign that they've identified that these are the guys with the skills and the, attributes that we want, and we're going to stick with them. And we believe that they have a high ceiling and they can keep growing. So that's been very clear. And we've had some issues with in Test cricket, like chopping and changing a bit too frequency, looking for those magic solutions. But overall, this picture of this is the group of bowlers is pretty clear. So that's and through this series, they all showed, I think, that they have those attributes that keep them in that group. Uh, I just on like one of them, which is Prasidh Krishna, right? In that last ODI, which is the only game he played, I think. I think that showed that he's got that little bit more room for improvement in white ball cricket, which is, it's been observed even in his like IPL career sometimes when he's bowling in the death overs and stuff, which I think when he was bowling in, I think an eliminator, no, a qualifier for Rajasthan Royals, he bowled the last over where David Miller hit him for three sixes, and Gujarat Titans went through to the final. And Kumar Sangakkara said, "Look, these things can happen, but the thing that you know that we spoke about Prasid and Sangakkara after that match was that you had your field in place, you had a field set for a certain kind of bowling, uh, but you went away from that plan when you got attacked." So that was what I didn't like from, that over that he bowled. And that's what he needs to learn, and that's what he will learn. Which there was a sign in this last match, where Connolly kind of, scooped him for a four. And after that, he kind of went away from his strengths, I felt. Uh, and Prasid is the kind of guy who's very good at a few things, really good at a few things, like, hitting a hard length and like getting the ball to do something from there, which is why, he's such a good middle overs prospect and everything. But some of his variations still need a bit of work, I think, which is why Harshit is kind of ahead of him, even with the ball, apart from what he brings with the bat. Because Harshit, we've seen even in like, pressure overs in IPL and all that, he has a really good slower ball, lots of good change ups and stuff. Where I think Prasid A needs to work on those a bit more, and B needs to be clearer about, okay, this is my plan A for this over, this is my plan B for this over. I'm not going away from that. And I'm not like going to concede a couple of freebie boundaries that, I could have avoided. But yeah, otherwise, I think the group as such, there's a lot of potential in that. And when Bumrah comes back, especially, I think there'll be clearer role definition as well. And that will, make this attack on the whole look more coherent.
Yeah, there has been, I've observed there's a little bit of an execution issue with Prasid. He knows, in his mind, clearly knows what his strengths are, what he needs to do. But there is a bit of an execution issue, which I think could be rust. He only improved even in the Test series in England, he improved with time. Here also, when he started out yesterday, he the first short ball was not very good. It was just a hit me ball which Marsh did. And whenever he tried the change up full ball after having pushed the batter back, you want to bowl that 5 to 6 meter length. He ended up bowling full tosses. So that kind of execution he needs to be spot on with, which at least in ODIs, Harshit Rana has shown he has been better with. And it's crucial because once India are at a full strength, there might be space in the squad only for one of them, because Bumrah will play. Poor Shami or Siraj also, if they are both fit at their peak fitness, there would be space only for one of them, because the third fast bowler has to be this tall hit the deck kind of guy, which could be one of Harshit or Prasid. And maybe Arshdeep stays as a left arm seamer or not. Even if he doesn't, three might be, as if Hardik Pandya is there, India might not take more than three fast bowlers, because they want to accommodate spin all rounders and Kuldeep Yadav also. So there's going to be Prasid just needs to be always spot on when he's starting a spell, which has been an issue both in the Test series in England and this match.
Yeah, I mean, he showed good accuracy during the IPL, to be fair, and he did show a lot of slow ball variations there. Although not maybe as many as Harshit, because I think Harshit has at least two different slow balls with the deep palm one and then the off cutter. So maybe those are things that Prasid needs to work on. Of course, he's also simultaneously working on his test bowling, where arguably he's more important for India, because I think he could be one of India's three fast bowlers in most tests away from home.
I know, but he needs his fitness needs to go a long way still to be a test bowler, because you can't have him as a fourth bowler. We are
Yeah.
past that stage. He has to replace Prasid. Like if you go to the squad that India played in England, he has to replace Prasidh in that 11.
No,
Let's
I'm
say,
talking about Prasidh. I was talking about Prasidh being one of India's three main fast bowlers in Test, not
uh,
Harshit. No. I was saying that
yeah,
for Prasidh, it's also possible that over the last 5, 6 months, because he's been so focused on his Test
yeah,
game, some of
yeah,
those white ball skills may be a little bit rusty for him because he's been very much focused on red ball cricket, where he's very important for India.
And I'll give him a little more leeway in the fact that he only played that one game in the series, right?
yeah, yeah,
So he was coming back and stuff. So yeah, I mean, those execution errors can come from there as well. So
yeah.
it's not a major issue, but it's just something I
Yeah.
thought, you know,
But
yeah.
but when Harshit is at his best, I see a lot. I get excited about him in tests also. If he can, maintain that fitness and intensity over a long day,
Hmm.
he's quicker than Prasidh,
Yeah.
and he can bowl top of off also, not just hit the deck. So he's
Yeah,
got
he's got that ability to, when he's got charged up, even rattle some of the best batters in the world. I remember an over he bowled maybe two IPLs ago to Heinrich Klaasen, where he bounced him, and then I think he cleaned him up with a Yorker or a slower Yorker in the end. So I've always felt also that the ceiling for Harshit is really high. Let's switch over now and talk a little bit about Australia before we go, because Australia have won the series. They have shown what a strong ODI side that they actually are, because they're missing two or three of their best players actually, and still looked like a really complete side. And I want to start with talking about Josh Hazelwood, because Hazelwood, I mean, over the last 5, 6 months, what he's done in white ball cricket is really remarkable. I thought in the IPL, he just hit a new level, which we had not seen from an overseas bowler in the IPL for a long time, that kind of dominance. And then in this series, I'll ask this flat out. Apart from Bumrah right now, is Hazelwood the best white ball fast bowler there is in world cricket? Is he number two to Bumrah?
with the new ball, he's better than Bumrah. See, what he does with the new ball, I don't think Bumrah has been able to do in the recent couple of years. Uh, with the new ball, definitely better than Bumrah, and he's been fitter than Bumrah over the years. He's got more work in. Of course, on flatter pitches, Bumrah is unmatched. But if there is, even if there's a little bit of help, Hazelwood has been amazing. That spell, any other day, he could have taken 4, 5 wickets, 10 overs. And kudos to the captaincy, Australian captaincy. They attacked with him,
Hmm.
7 overs.
7 in a row, yeah.
Yeah. And also his last three were not kept for later. He came in the 33rd over, and he had finished well before 40 overs were done. So where he was the most impactful, they used him in both in this ODI and the second one also. So yeah, Hazelwood has, as you rightly mentioned, in the IPL, which is flatter wickets, high scoring, he bowled that perfect length, which window is narrowing every passing year with batters, becoming more and more versatile. That window of not unattackable length is becoming narrower and narrower, and he stayed in that window with remarkable accuracy during the IPL.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at his figures from that second ODI, 10 overs, two maidens, 29 runs, no wickets. I honestly, when I look at that scorecard, I feel like I'm looking at a 90s scorecard, and that's Curtly Ambrose. That's the kind of spell that Curtly Ambrose would bowl in the 90s.
You know what I had in mind? Adam Dale. They used to be mid 90s, and Australia used to have Adam Dale and McGrath and one other fast bowler. And Adam Dale would bowl out from 0 to 20 overs, and he would have end up with figures
Yeah.
similar to this. But that was because he was a very, very
He was much,
one-dimensional bowler. He was
yeah, he was much
one-dimensional
slower,
bowler
and
who
Adam Dale
was,
would hoop the ball around corners. The
yeah,
ball would be swinging
yeah,
from leg stump to like way outside off.
yeah, yeah. But no, Ambrose is a very good Ambrose, Walsh,
Rana.
Hazelwood. Yeah, these are the guys. Yeah, it's Harshit Rana who has been polished and polished and polished to.
Man, you're setting a very high ceiling for Harshit Rana. Sid, you want him to get to Hazelwood level?
He has the attributes. He's actually got more pace than Hazelwood. If he works hard, why can't he get there?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
what else? What else impressed you about Australia in this series, KK? There were some impressive performances by Matthew Short. Cooper Connolly looks like quite a prospect. So who else really impressed you for Australia, and how strong are they looking to defend their World Cup trophy 2 years from now?
I mean, Bartlett as well. Matt Renshaw came in. Matt Renshaw has just been the shape-shifting cricketer for Australia for so many years now, like stodgy test opener, then, brought into an India tour out of the blue as a middle order spin specialist, but that experiment lasts just one test. And now he's, a hard-hitting middle order ODI batter. And he's still really young. I think he started when he was probably 20 or 21, and so he's still really young. So that's another interesting prospect. And, this is a team without Steven Smith and Glenn Maxwell, and Warner also was playing not too long ago. And yet, it doesn't, they didn't seem to miss any of those guys, which is saying quite a lot. Short has looked like a really good player for, quite a number of years now, and now finally is getting this run in the side and showing what he can do. I really like, you know, even aesthetically is just really good to watch. So is like Josh Philippi. Uh,
Renshaw.
yeah,
Renshaw is good to watch. The only concern is that they will not get the kind of 40, 50 ODIs that you need before going into a World Cup.
they don't play as many,
Hmm.
especially away ODIs. They don't really tend to play that many, do they? But
Yeah.
they might add a few before the World Cup. There will be some India white ball tour thrown in at some point as well. Yeah, Zampa was as usual.
Zampa.
Zampa was Zampa. They have I mean, they're world champions, right? And we kind of
Hmm.
almost forget that sometimes.
Hmm.
Like come a World Cup, they are there, and it looks like the next generation that replaces Smith and Maxwell and Warner is also like shaping up really nicely. And even the fast bowling backups they have, like Bartlett, look really good. Ellis has been in and around the scene for a while. He's a pretty good bowler too. So yeah, I mean, would have liked to see a little more of them. In the kind of situation that they were in the third ODI, where they were defending a lowish total, and then it just became a little too easy for Rohit and Kohli. Uh, yeah, so maybe that's the kind of situation they need to like bowl in more and like find out, okay, where do we get even better from here? But yeah, overall they look to be in very good health as an ODI team.
Yeah, when you mentioned Matt Renshaw, all I can remember is that he once had to run off the field during that test match in India because he had the runs.
Pune, yeah.
One of the strangest retired hurt that I've seen. Any other takeaways from this series from either India or Australia's point of view? It was a short series, 2.5 ODIs really. So any other takeaways, or do you think we're covered?
I just remember that Alan Border was very, very disappointed that he retired hurt for.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what are you supposed to do? It's not like Dean Jones in Chennai where he could throw up. You can throw up in out in public view. Short of, I mean, I don't think they carry adult diapers. So, uh,
We've started
but
this episode talking about Roshagolas and ending it talking about adult diapers. I think I think that's a
I have
sign.
yeah, I have one little point though, which is I don't know if this was a some sort of experimentation India were doing or just a little bit of lack of attention to detail, where there was a uh, like Travis Head was caught by Prasidh Krishna at backward point, and backward point for Head, you want one of your best fielders there, right? And Prasidh Krishna against a spinner, I think Kuldeep, it was dropped someone at long on. Again, that's a hot zone for a spinner. You want one of your best uh, fielders there. And then Siraj dropped a catch at point, or I don't even remember who the batter or bowler was.
I think it was short
I think
only.
it
It
was
was
short
short. Yeah,
of
it was short.
Washington. Yeah.
Correct. That's right. So it was weird to see some of these fast bowlers who aren't, the kind of fast bowlers known for their fielding either, fielding in these hot zones. So I don't know if they're trying to get them to
Get
improve,
better.
get better, or if it was just, like I said, lack of attention to detail. But yeah, that's something that, especially from an inexperienced captain, it's something that you don't necessarily want to see. So yeah,
Hmm.
just I don't think it's a major thing unless it continues to repeat itself over the next few months. But yeah, it was just something I happened to notice.
Yeah, you're right, because Siraj actually was excellent on the boundary in this series. I mean, there was that
That
fantastic
yeah.
save in the first ODI, wasn't it, where he
Hmm.
dived at the boundary and pulled it in. He took another good catch as well. I think in the second ODI, but you're right, his fielding position kept changing. They did have did the Shreyas Iyer catch happen at that was from point as well, right? Running
Yeah,
back
He
over
was
the
running behind from backward point. Yeah.
yeah.
yeah, I mean, overall, India's fielding in this series was actually quite encouraging. Even Kohli looked really sharp in the field, but a couple of dropped catches in the second ODI. I guess another big positive for India would be that they got Travis Head for three low scores in this series, considering he's been such a thorn in India's side. And they did seem to, I don't know how long term this plan can be of actually getting him out on his strength, the cut shot, but they got him out there twice, right?
Yeah,
No, the
but that's
second one head actually went to manufacture it, which is why he could
mm,
not quite nail it because there wasn't enough room. A first one did actually seem to be a plan because the deep backward point was in place. It was not the usual deep third. So
he's been
that
I think he's been out that way in the IPL a few times as well. CSK kept getting him out there. I think Tushar
this
Deshpande.
used to happen with Sehwag also,
Mm,
Yeah.
where
What did you guys
people.
think, by the way, of Gill's captaincy in his first series as ODI captain? This is perhaps I mean, this is a format, not ODIs, but he's captained a decent amount in white ball cricket because he's been IPL captain of Titans for a couple of years now. Did you see those? I mean, did you see his mark as a captain on this series, or was it too short a series to really notice anything specifically with his tactics? I know you mentioned a few things about the lack of attention to detail at times with field placements. There was that one really good field placement for Head, although of course we won't know whether that was Gill on the field or whether that was the team management who had set that up. But anything that you saw on Gill's captaincy in this series that gave you either pause or encouragement?
I'm going to channel my inner Sunil Gavaskar and say your first job as a captain is to win tosses. Wait,
Man,
wait.
this actually has to be spoken about because I think what is the odds of this India losing? We have
is it
something on
18
our
now?
side. I'll tell you it's point
18 in
zero
a row.
zero zero 0.0038% is the chances
But
of losing 18 tosses in a row in a
and
format, which is
and ever
mind-boggling.
ever since Gill has become captain, he's won one toss in 10 matches. Five
Yeah.
lost five in England, one in India and lost one. That is 6-1, and now 9-1. Yeah,
And he's losing tosses both away from home where he's calling and at home where he's the one tossing the coin. So it's not even like,
yeah,
he's calling something in between heads and tails where he's not giving himself
yeah,
a chance to win
yeah,
the toss. But yeah,
yeah. He
on a serious note, apart from his lack of skills at the toss, is there anything you've seen so far in his
no,
captaincy?
it's it wasn't. Yeah, as you said yourself that the series is too short and to even lean into anything.
Yeah, I'd say the same. Like we'll watch a little more of him and see. And uh, yeah, he's young also, and we'll give him time before we pass any judgments as well.
Okay. Well, the series
The
was
one thing.
short. Huh.
One thing that stays with us is also this new variation that new deception that Australia have been working on. I think they have been working on consciously on it. Like they will come in bowl and they'll show this thumb to you to kind of signal an off spinner in the load up, but then get the thumb back and just go seam on. But both Stark and Xavier Bartlett did that.
Yeah, that was a really interesting variation from the second ODI in particular. I think Adam Gilchrist did a good job of breaking it down on commentary. So yeah, it was a short series. I think a fairly short episode for us also by our standards, or have we gone over an hour? We'll see once the final edit is done. But thanks guys and everybody else. Stay tuned. We'll be back soon for another episode of Rock and Roll It, where we'll be discussing Roshagolas and diapers.
TV umpire to director, we have a review. Can you rock and roll it for me, please?